Greetings, everyone. This is Dr. Monica Y. Jackson. I am the visionary behind the M4 Summit. This stands for Men, Message, Mission, and Movement. I'm here today with one of our speakers, Schwartzen, Précil. How are you this afternoon, this morning, Schwartzen?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Dr. Jackson. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Schwartzen has such a powerful message. He's so mature. As I hear him speak, I got chills. I learned something. And again, those who've heard me speak will hear me. I keep asking God, why was I given this vision for this summit? I'm not a man. All these men have signed up. Why me? Why is it me? And I feel like he's saying, because you're going to do something with it. Those who I've given vision to, just sit on it. You're not afraid to speak truth. You're not afraid to bring up controversial issues. You have used your pain and your wounds to transform into wisdom. And so now you're giving that back. So I want to just touch on some of the things that I heard Schwartzen say. He grew up in the foster care system. And one of the things that he said is, as he was moved from foster system or foster home to foster home, he felt like it was a legal kidnapping. There was no choice and he had no voice. That so resonated with me. And I'll say the reason why. Yesterday I was driving and I heard this call for foster parents. And I was thinking about, should I become a foster parent? So when you just made that statement, I'm like, okay, Lord, what are you saying right now to me? Now, my personal concern is getting too attached to someone and having to release them, or raising them and giving them all for them to only be taken away, and all the work that I've done to be taken away. What would you say to someone contemplating foster care, and why should they? And what can they expect a little bit of?
Yeah, as a future foster parent, if anyone who would like to become a foster parent, make sure you're in it for the right reason. To whether it's long term or short term, us foster children, former foster youth, we do appreciate good parenting, and we know we're in a unique situation, and that makes you a unique person to want to step up to the challenge of raising a foster child, even if you don't adopt them. See, my first foster mom, I never forgot her. We still talk to this day, and that's something, because she was good to me. She was kind. She was, she did her thing. She raised us, she raised us as best as she could. And, we still have a relationship. Unfortunately, I don't have a relationship with every foster family that I've been with, and so, I definitely encourage those who do want, to be a foster youth or foster child. Just do it for the right reason. If you know that's a call that God has placed in your heart, he'll show you. He'll show you how to parent, and he'll make sure. But even if it's just it's a mentor-mentee role, that's fine. If it's a parental son-child role or a son-daughter role, that's fine as well. I think it's contingent upon what is it that really you want the intention behind fostering a child for.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And the other thing you talked about was that you went to college on a basketball scholarship, and that was a form for you to be able to connect. It kept you sane.
Mm-hmm.
It was your way of releasing. As an African American male, a lot of times parents, and I hear them all the time, suppress or don't want their children to go into sports, because every little boy or little girl wants to be a basketball star, or football star, or rapper, and parents want to tell them there's more to life than that.
Mm-hmm.
But your message resonated with me a lot more, and the reason why is because you said that it was your place for release.
Mm-hmm.
And if we as children don't have a place for release,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to internalize that and have other issues. So talk a little bit about that sports as a release, especially for that parent who may be holding their child back from doing something with sports.
Yeah, basketball itself, most sports, it's a form of art. It's a form of creative expression. Even though there's a science to sports, there's also a art side where you can get creative. You can create your own identity with when it comes to sports. You can the way you channel your energy, because kids, especially African American kids, we have a lot of energy, and we sometimes we got to get that out. And that's why like kids like us that diagnosed with or undiagnosed with ADHD and things like that, we can't sit still in school. Sometimes we just want to play in the playground. We have that, there's different levels of intelligences, like that's called a kinesthetic intelligence, right? Where physiologically your body wants to move and it does things that the normal person wouldn't typically be able to do. And so being able to have that form of identity out there in that court or on the field or on the roller rink or in gymnastics, in any kind of physical movement, it does give you a sense of identity, of peace, and of enjoyment. I mean, like at the end of the day, I'm sure a parent wants to see their child smile and enjoy it. And some people have this issue with whether it's a hobby or it's a professional thing. Like, is it gonna pay for my college, or is it just something to do with the pastime activity? And that can vary. I think it depends on the child's passion, how much they want it, what do they look at, the reason behind the sport that they do, the reason behind the competitiveness that they have. For me, it was a sense of freedom that came with playing with basketball. So basketball was going to take me out the neighborhood, take me out the foster home, take me to somewhere else, and it took me across the country, across the world, and I was able to use that to my best of my ability. So
Great. And you survived sex trafficking, foster system, and bouncing around, incarceration, all these things. And one of the things I love that you said is that you couldn't blame your past anymore. You couldn't make any excuses. You had to be accountable. I think so many people victimize themselves, and that was such a powerful statement, and especially from a young man that's under 30 years old. Some adults don't even get that.
Right.
And I say that personally because I have people who reach out to me with their pains and say they didn't know that they had choices. And these are 50, 60 years old. They did not know that they had choice. So can you explain a little bit or talk about how you transformed to becoming accountable and who and what played a role in that?
Yeah, I think we underestimate the power of belief. I think because maybe the previous generation or a few generations before, they didn't have the opportunities that we have today. Right? There were only one generation moved from the civil rights movements and things like that. And so they had their way. They had their way of how they were going to do things. It was just good to just get a job. Just open up a bank account, to just own a house. That was good for them. But because there's so much nowadays, there's so much access to things that influence us. We have access to a lot of influence, and for me, that power of belief came from like that power. Of course, comes from God, but like it was the desire to want to be free. The same way our ancestors had a desire to want to be free at a certain level, they chose they chose to escape from the oppression that they had at a certain. They fought tooth and nail. And we have that same ability in us, and it's innate. And sometimes it just takes a triggering activity to activate that. Sometimes it takes a rock bottom, a situation to really wake up and say, hey, I got to do something now. Like, I'm not going to die here. This is not the end all be all. This is not where my story ends. And I want more for myself. I'm thinking about the next generation. This is not where my lineage ends. This is not where my dream goes to die. Because you have a lot of that. And unfortunately, a lot of my friends didn't make it. And so if I'm the anomaly and I'm going to make it, I have a lot to carry on. That's a strong, a wide load to carry. And so I'm seeing myself as not just me as the foot survivor, but for the other, 70% of kids who didn't make it out, understanding that their stories got to be told as well, and then help those who are still going through that system. And so when you think about others instead of just yourself, you realize it's a powerful motivation to get you to where you want to go to, instead of just thinking, woe was me, and this is where I don't know. And You move past that confusion. You move past the stuck point. You move past what they call the glass ceiling kind of thing. You move past it, and it is a breakthrough, is what I call it. It's a breakthrough to be able to believe that you're going to move on to the next thing. And fortunately, by the grace of God, I was able to do that.
Great, great, great. And I hope that anyone who's listening, whether you're a youth, a young adult, a child, well, children won't be listening to this, but young adult, youth, a man or a woman, the power of Schwartzen's message. Whatever you're in, whatever you're dealing with, first and foremost, you have to choose to be accountable. Choose, not take blame for or what happened to you, but the desire to escape, the desire to not fear, look forward for something else. And Schwartzen has a very strong faith, and he's very involved in his church. I will share that I and many others do not attend church, even though we grew up Christianity. And I believe in God. I just don't do church anymore because of my church hurt and my church wounds. So I am so glad to hear that your church loves you. Your church is doing what God intends it to do, and you're able to work in that capacity. I'm grateful that God has called me outside the four walls, such as a time as this, for this summit. Now, when he takes me back to the right church, who knows? But I'm just grateful that you had a place and somebody welcomed you to be authentically you, and to speak your truth. So thank you so much. Any parting words before we sign off?
No. Well, thank you for having me. For those who were able to watch and tune in, remember that your pain could be transformed into a greater purpose. Just hold on to the why. Always teach. Hold on to the reason behind it. Don't try to find the meaning behind life. Instead, try to find meaning behind the goal that you have for yourself.